without further ado, here's Off the Cuff with D'ana Nuñez. D'ana, talk to me. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Just trying to survive a long day of productivity.
I love that. I love that. I'm excited to have you here. Full circle moment.
Yes.
The last time I saw you was on a big stage.
Yes.
Now we're keeping a little bit more intimate to really dive into the conversation that we have for today.
Yeah.
You know, so many people know you for being a creative, being an artist, being a storyteller. A lot of people probably know you for your background in fashion, right? What I like to call you and see you.
Doing a little research, okay?
Yeah, a little something like that. I mean, we see the drip, right? But it's something that I feel like, you know, I see you as like a visionary, right? I see you as somebody who's really always pouring into others and most importantly, pouring into yourself. And there's probably a lot of people here tuning in today that may just came across your work for the first time. A lot of people who may just stumble across your work and don't necessarily know you, right?
Yeah.
Or just getting to know you. So what I really want to do is kind of set the stage, set the tone for you to introduce who you really are and kind of take us back into that moment when you first got introduced to the gift of art.
Whoa.
I like that.
It's always interesting to like talk about myself after like a certain amount of years, you know, because I feel like I live it every day. But just for like the basis, Puerto Rican, raised in Miami. So I had like the Puerto Rican Miami kind of upbringing. I'm considered multidisciplinary, which means that like I encompass a lot of different mediums. I'm someone that gets bored quickly. My attention span is horrible. So I was like, you know what, let me try to find a flow in art and design where like I can really excel. So like illustration, murals, art direction, creative direction, experiential. I feel like being that multifaceted has really helped me excel in the art and design space. And that art, like, I think there is like an essence to like the power of suggestion. Every route that I've taken up to this point, someone has been like, I think you should do X, Y, and Z. I think you should try this. And I feel like that was kind of like my introduction to like exploring the art and design space. Cause someone's like, you know, you're doing great in fashion, but like, I don't think you're living to your utmost potential. And I was like, oh, humble to me, you know, but that's kind of like how I got that kickoff.
Wow. And who said that to you?
It was a friend at the time. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And then from there, seed was planted.
Yes.
How did you, because I feel like a lot of us too, right? Sometimes we get some close ones, loved ones, or even the people around us to say, hey, you're not really fulfilling the calling or the purpose you've been called to do.
Right.
You know, when somebody plants that seed at the time, when you reflect looking back, how did you unpack that to say, you know what, let me actually take a step and to see this for myself?
I just remember it feeling like necessary. I think as a creative, when you live in your ecosystem for so long, you don't see what other people see. And so having someone that close to me to be like, listen, you're doing great, but you're not doing as great as you can. One, it humbled me, but also I felt like, because I'm a big universe energy type person, that I was like, this person was planted at this moment to tell me this, so that way I can do my shift.
Wow, I love that. And one of the things that I truly admire about you, even into that same token, right, is that curiosity for you is just number one.
Yeah.
I'm a very, very curious person
Same.
too. I ask questions. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm always raising my hand to do certain things. And for you, one of the things you lean in on is your curiosity for storytelling. You know, why is that so important for you to portray storytelling in your work?
Because I can't foresee any other way. I tell my friends all the time, I'm like, if this art thing doesn't work out, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. And that's how I see storytelling, is that I don't see myself exploring storytelling in any other capacity. And I think the ability to storytell in the midst of like problem solving and being creative, I think all of that is so intertwined that that's why I lead with that.
I love that, and I think you're doing a phenomenal job doing that. Is there one particular story that it still kind of holds a deep place into your heart that you always like to portray?
I did do this project with Nike that was in celebration for the Puerto Ricans that have taken over Orchard Beach. And so prior to that, I am someone that lives in the middle, right? I wasn't born on the island and I wasn't raised here in New York. So like I don't have the New York weekend experience. I have like the Floridian Miami experience. And so I'm always someone that's like walked in the in-between of those two. And so prior to me doing the basketball, I said, I'm gonna go to Puerto Rico and I'm gonna research. I wanna study my environment again. I wanna see how the people are feeling. And like towards the end of my stay there was a riot. Like there was a protest because teachers aren't paid enough. And so seeing those infrastructures and seeing the environment and just being on the land again, that feeling to this day has not left me. And then being able to take what I've learned and pour it into a basketball court.
Wow.
I still to this day, I don't think I've even unpacked what I experienced in PR to this very day, but that has always stuck with me.
I love how you have these significant moments into your life and you hold on to those feelings that make you better, right? And I think just going through the channels of just, doing a little bit of homework on you, I saw that these memories they're always rooted into who you are. And one of the things that I honestly really appreciated that you were so open about was that you got the chance to celebrate your childhood in your 30s, right? And I think sometimes that moment is so significant for a lot of us and stuff who may not necessarily remember their childhood because so many things were going on or have the opportunity to not live that again. But you chose to celebrate that even years after that.
Yeah.
Right? That's growth. That's healing.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more how important that is and was that for you?
Like my inner child and like celebrating my childhood.
Like coming back full circle to say, you know what, I'm actually gonna choose to celebrate my childhood now.
Yeah, I think I've lived this narrative for so long that wasn't my own. I think like growing up, I was a byproduct of what everybody else was doing around me. And in doing that, there was a lot of things that I was robbed from. And for the longest time, I carried this negative narrative about it up until I started like therapy and addressing my mental health. That's when I was like, I don't need to carry it like this anymore. I have the power and the ability to rewrite that. And so ever since then, from my work to my show, even how I approach my creativity, even how I dwell in my studio, like my studio is just like a whole playground. I think that's just my attempt to try to rewrite that for myself. So that way, if I ever have children or if I ever continue this legacy, at least I know that I had control of it at some point.
And I want to dive in a little bit deeper into that, right? Because I think we are all going through different moments of our healing journey, and it all kind of looks very different. For me, a lot of it has been a lot of therapy work and understanding like these are not traumas that I have to no longer hold on to. Like maybe these are just traumas that were my parents' traumas and it unfortunately got, passed down to me, but it's something I no longer have to hold on to, right? What was it for you that helped you heal throughout your journey?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm gonna heal until like the wheels fall off.
Yep.
Like I feel like I think I reach a moment where I'm like, I feel good. And then reality slaps me and it's like, no, you still got work to do. But I think the beginning of that was just seeking help and realizing that, again, I don't have to do this alone. And I think the start of therapy was very intimidating. I went through 4 therapists.
Oh, wow.
Because I think you probably can agree that like finding a therapist is like dating. Like it's really hard to find one that you vibe with. And so I think that was kind of like the kickoff for me in this healing journey, is to be like, I need help, and telling my close ones that I need help. Because I've always been the strong one. I've always been like the one that wants to take care of everybody, but I'm the last to take care of myself. And so I was like, I need to switch this up because this is not sustainable. I don't want it to get to a point where it starts to ruin or mess with the integrity of my work. Like, I always want to keep this level, this caliber of work, and I don't want my negligence to make everything else suffer. So I think even this happened last year where I was just like, I need help. And I think that's what kicked off this journey that I'm on now.
I love that. I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's just coming to truth and to say, you know what, I need help, and what does help look like?
Mm.
And a lot of it that I think about too, even for my journey, is just, I remember walking into the therapist meeting, I was just like, you know what? I just want to be the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know, but I know that's the appetite and the hunger that I want for me to get to that next level. And it was a lot of moments that, you know, tearful moments, a lot of unpacking, a lot of like going back to the drawing board, like, damn, I gotta now ask myself this tough question and sit with it.
Yeah. The sitting with things, especially after a session, I'm like, am I gonna bounce back? Because the debriefing of sessions is another thing that a lot of people don't talk about. Is that you do your session, you're like, I learned this, but the sitting with it after, usually like when I do my therapy sessions, I take the rest of the day off.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to bed. I'm putting on my TV show and I'm just, my snacks, and I'm just like really taking it in because it's work.
Yeah. Was there one specific question that you still sit with to today?
In terms of like therapy?
Yeah. Or like just something that just like was so profound that you're still seeking an answer?
I mean, there's a lot of things where I'm like, I still don't know. But I think it's not even a question, but I think it's the part of where trauma started for me, because there's a lot of things that I don't remember. Wow. Like my chronological order does not exist. Like I can't tell you where I was when I was 5. I can't see it because a lot of it has been blocked off. And so like in my therapy sessions, that's what we're trying to tackle. Like she's asking me questions, she's like, okay, you told me about this instance, when did that happen? And I'm like, I don't know. A lot of it is just black. And I think that's just because I was in survival mode since I was 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember a lot of things. And that's the part where I feel like we're still trying to like go through in the weeds.
Connect the dots, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, and I kind of wanted to bring that up just because I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, freelancers, you know, creatives, artists in this space is just like, we never know what next looks like. We are in that survival mode. We're always hustling, looking like, okay, when is the next opportunity gonna come? When is the next paycheck gonna come, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you just don't know.
No.
Right? And do you have enough faith to stay still in those moments to say, you know what, something's gonna come? And you know, it's like tussling, always tussling and stuff about that. So I just appreciate you being so transparent there, because it's a lot of those moments that you have to sit still
Mm-hmm.
and just spend some time with yourself and say, you know what, it's gonna all work out.
Yeah, I mean, I got this far. You know, and there was many times where, to be quite transparent, there's been many times where I didn't think I was gonna make it this far. And so like every time a decade comes around, I'm like, yo, I made another decade. Like, okay, I can do this, okay. But even going back to like freelancing and having faith in that is like, we're in Q1.
Yeah.
Q1 got me stressed.
Yo, Q1 is flying.
And it happens every year. And you would think that by whatever year, you're like, okay, I'm better prepared for it. And I think this is the stage that I'm at where I do feel I've done this before. I even pull my cards. My cards are like, yo, you just need to chill out. Like, this is your time of rest. And I think just really learning the way freelance works is that it comes rushing and then it slows down. And then in those seasons of rushing and slowing down, rest. Learn. And so those are the things I've been leaning into. I'm like, if I'm not working, let me learn. Let me go in my studio. Let me spend 10 hours. Like, let me treat this as a practice. And so that's where I've been at in Q1.
I love that. It's like you're finding peace in the moments of rest.
I have to, because if not, you know, I carry firstborn energy. And so like at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that depend on me. And that's always at the forefront of my mind, because again, in my nature, I want to take care of people before I take care of myself. And so when Q1 rolls around, you know, you have those moments of panic. You're like, how am I gonna pay this? How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that? But it's like, you just have to lean in the fact that this is the structure of being self-employed.
It's tough, you know, but we're this energy is needed, and I'm sure the people watching who are in their season right now to say, you know what, we could do this, because we're not in it alone. And that's why it's so important for me to have conversations like this, for people to know, like, you know, we see the highlight reels, we see all the great things, we see the sold out shows, you going on tour and all of that, but what we don't see is the grind, you know, the grind that happens, the rest that needs to happen in order for you to be prepared for those moments, you know. And as we kind of make our way there, and you touched upon it as well about just creating for yourself, right? And this kind of entrepreneurial spirit. You know, one of the things that you live by in your mantra and really resonates with me is creating for yourself should always be first before anything else.
Thank you for your homework. This is so tight. Okay.
You know, which probably goes back to the point of like, you know, this is about you, like you really doing it, you know? And I want to just set the stage that creating for yourself is super important. I'm glad that you brought that up, and that's a mantra you live by. You know, I want to dive into that a little bit more, right? Tell me the essence of why that is always on the forefront for you.
I mean, when I think about like career-wise, if I'm being mentioned in rooms, I want it to be because there's just something about her that they don't see in other people. And I've had instances where that was the case. You know, I had a brand that did like a group, like a focus group on me.
Yeah.
And like, so like stuff like that. I think that's, in the artist world, especially commercial, it's very saturated. And so there's a lot of competition in it. And like for me, I always told myself that I have to be in it for me, not because of a brand. Yes, I want things, right? I want opportunities and I want to expand, but like I come first. And I think even how I advocate and even how my team advocates for me when we're talking to these brands is that if I don't see myself on the brief, I do not want it. So that's very important to me, because from that point on, whatever is to manifest in that project or collaboration, you're seeing 110% me and not what the brand was trying to impose on me. And I think that's why it's so important that like I really advocate for me and my style and what I'm about and my storytelling.
I'm so happy you touched upon that, because brand partnerships is actually a topic I wanted to speak about, because I think ultimately sometimes we are very tempted to brands, to partners, whether it's a brand you've always wanted to work with. It's a bag on the table that's like, oof, like, what do I do? Like, you know, it's so tempting, right? And how do you vet out, and you touched upon it briefly and stuff, but I want to dive in, you know, is there a guidance or is there just a set of questions? Does your team kind of operate in a certain way where, how do you vet the opportunities, the ones that are for you, Covl, versus the ones that may necessarily just look good on paper?
Yeah, I mean, at the very beginning, me and Ashley would like always ask the client, do you want Covl for Covl or do you want Covl for a skill set? Because if you just want an illustrator, I'm not gonna do that. Yes, I can illustrate, but when I look at briefs and I see like the illustration style, when I see the creative that they're trying to aim for, if I don't see myself in that, it makes it a lot easier for me to walk away, because then I'm gonna be stuck in a project where we're like this constantly. And there was one instance where I provided a concept, and then the brand came to me and they just wanted to take everything that was me. And I walked away, and that wasn't bad. But I think from that moment on, like that was an instance. And even last year when we were pitching the show, we got a lot of no's. And so I think that is important for any creative to understand when they're talking to brands, is that, do you want me for me, my style, what I present to the table, or do you look for a skill set? Because if you're looking for a skill set, I can give you other names, you know? And so I think that's what helps me propel in these brand partnerships, because if it's not me, I don't really want it.
Yeah. That to me is super powerful, and I'm glad you touched upon that too. You know, even the fact that you even refer other people, that's a blessing in itself, because it's so true that they say that, you know, people are always watching. Mm-hmm. You know, whether they're hitting the like button or commenting or maybe not interacting or engaging with any of the work going on, but they're watching. And I think it's moments like that you say, you know what, if I'm able to plug in my friends or the people that I know that are doing some good work, that to me is really powerful.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like, everyone can win. There's enough space for everyone to win. And a lot of people are able to excel. There are a lot of artists and creatives that I look up to that I could never, you know, and I think that's special. I don't think I should ever have a mindset where I look at an artist and I'm like, why not me? You know, there's a reason why they're able to like have the platform to do things, and same to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. And I remember seeing something online. Lala was saying that, you know, when people get an opportunity, or let's say, for example, we were both going for an opportunity and the opportunity is for you, it's always important for us to congratulate that person, because it was their time. Mm-hmm. You know, it was their time. It was their time for them to accept that opportunity. So be happy for them as your time will come. So I always relate back to that, and it kind of comes full circle there. And you talk about Homesick. Mm-hmm. You know, the first solo art show, and you touched upon the rejections of the no's. Yeah. And I want to spend some time there a little bit, because I think it's important that, you know, we saw the success of it. We saw the sold out. We saw every item piece down to the collection capsule sold out, mm-hmm. which is a phenomenal thing. And I want to congratulate you for that. The no's, they're important.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What kept you going through those rejections?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. There were a few times where I told my team at the time, I was like, you know what, let's just put it on pause, because it was too personal to me. You know, like I was trying to touch on a subject that's not often talked about, like trauma, childhood trauma, inner child work, abuse, domestic abuse, like all those things that I was trying to touch upon in Homesick, that like, I was like, you know what, if they're telling me no, it has to be a reason, right? But then it got to the point where it was like nitty gritty, like we were running out of time. And I remember like walking in with Ashley to the gallery, Kid Super Gallery, and he had mentioned, you can have this space for free. You know, like if he believes in an artist, he wants to provide that space for an artist like that. And after that, I was like, okay, the venue's free. Okay. So then me and Ashley were talking, and I was like, what would it take, like the bare bones, to do this? Because the way I dream very big, you know, and then it takes someone to like humble me. Like Ashley was just like, listen, at the end of the day, what's most important is that you do it. Not how it looks and like the grandiose things, it's just that you do it. You said you're gonna do it, and then you did it. And so after receiving all those no's, and then going back to the team and asking them like, what will it cost to do the bare bones of the show? And then I was like, you know what, I'll do it, I'll invest in it. And the reason why I did that is because I no longer want to be at the mercy of brands. Brands are really good at saying, we're for the creative community, we have pillars, we have the ethos. But then when it came to like investing in an artist like myself, they wanted to know how they can put themselves in the conversation. And I'm like, this is not the space for you to put yourself in the conversation. This is not commercial. There's no end goal here. There's no call to action. This is like an artist coming to you for help. And yeah, I think all those no's did discourage me at some point, but at the end of it, like I look back on it and I think that the no's are very necessary. Failing is very necessary. Nobody wants to fail, everyone wants to succeed, but it's like, how do you even get there?
Right.
You have to mess up, you have to try. And so yeah, I was just like, you know what, let me just bet on myself. And it worked out.
And every time. Shout out to your team.
No, truly, like them two girls, her, Ashley and B, like held me down. They really held me down. I always say it, but them two can like run the world with their eyes closed.
I love that. Shout out to them. And I think it's important to have a team and a support system to say, you know what, we're in this together. You can see it through, and I'm so happy, and I'm sure you're excited about how it all went down. I was super tight that I couldn't make it, but I saw the recap. I was having a bunch of FOMO, and I saw a lot of mutual friends there. So I'm glad that you share that message and that testimony, because sometimes we are hesitant to take that leap of faith. We're hesitant to say, you know what, this is all I got in my bank account. I don't want to see it go, but then again, that might be the breakthrough or the blessing for you to get to that next level.
Yeah, I was scared, man. I was like, how much? But then just seeing like all come together, I'm like, I would do it again. And I plan to do it many times over. Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's get it. You know, I love that. And, you know, I think really kind of aligning here as we make down, you know, through these questions here, one of the things that I really want you to share about and talk about is really owning your story and owning the legacy and the impact that you continue to have in the community. You know, like I said, off the cuff is usually the angle we take it upon is understanding the behind the scenes that we often don't hear or see. A lot of the things that, you know, we see, like I said before, the highlight reels, all the things that are on your Instagram and your work, but a lot of the things that we don't see that happen at home, right? And I want you to set the stage for all the brands that are tuning in right now, for everybody watching right now. I want you to set the stage, because I want you to let the people know who Covl is, but what separates you from all other artists. Because I think that's something important that portrays and comes through your work. But I want to hear from you. What is that separation piece from you and everybody else?
That's a good one. I feel like I had to ask other people. I feel like I had to phone a friend. Like, what do you think? It's just, I think at the end of the day, it's just like my work ethic, the grit, the hustle. I've had repeating clients. They always come back to me because they love how Ashley and I work. And I think that's one of the things that sets me apart, that I'm setting the tone with these brands. We're working together. I'm advocating, I'm teaching them things, they're reciprocating or they're taking it in. I think that's what it is. I think, you know, shout outs to my dad, because my dad taught me hustle, and I feel like I can out hustle anybody.
Fire.
I really do believe that. And I think my journey of 10 plus years is a testament to that.
I love that. You know, if your pops was watching this right now, what would you share with him?
Oh my God, don't do that. It makes me emotional. I love my dad. Yeah, I can't do that. I can't, no, I already feel it. That's just, I just, yeah, I can't. I just love that man so much. And I don't take for granted anything that he's taught me. So luckily he's still on earth, so I'm very grateful, but yeah, I just know that he knows. That man knows. That's he's like, fine. I built you, you know?
Right ahead.
Yeah. He knows. And I remember like back in 2019 when we did the basketball court in Miami, prior to that, my dad had no idea what I did. He's like, oh, my daughter's a model. My daughter does this. And then he saw the basketball court, and then he even saw Jimmy Butler, and he's like, oh, this is what you do. And then ever since then, he has garnered a big appreciation for like what I did. Not saying that he didn't before, but now that he understands it and he knows how much work I put into it, he totally gets it now.
That's love. That's so much love. And shout out to your pops.
Yeah.
You're making me teary-eyed too, because I think about how important family support is.
Big time.
You know, and even moments where they don't understand what you're doing, but they know that you're happy, that they know that you're actually following something that makes you happy. I remember every time that I put out an episode, my dad is always the first one to watch.
I love that.
You know, he's always commenting. He's like, yo, son, I saw you, you know, yo, that girl cursed too much, or that person cursed too much. Like, and then he's always uploading his WhatsApp and all these different things. And I'm like, you know what? When I look back, I'm like, those sacrifices didn't go in vain. Mm-hmm. Those sacrifices or those teaching and those humbling moments, and understanding that, you know, where we come from is humble beginnings. But now that we're on a journey to make so much way and create safe spaces for our people to just share their stories, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So when you had mentioned, you know, your pops, it reminded me of that moment of my dad just always liking, subscribing, tuning in.
Yeah.
And, you know, the age gap is there, but like he it's still those small acts of kindness. I'm like, you know what, Dad, I appreciate that. And that brings me a smile. And sometimes that is the motivation to keep going.
Yeah. That reminds me of a time when I went to a retreat and we were like doing somatic dancing. And like one of the mantras was, I am grateful that I get to live a life that others couldn't. And I immediately thought of my parents. Like I remember when I was in Paris for the first time and I looked at my partner and I was like crying. He's like, why are you crying? And I was like, my parents have never been to Paris. My parents have never went across the country. Like I'm doing a lot of things that my parents never got to do. And that really instilled an impact on me. And I think that's what keeps me going, because I'm like, I get to live this life that none of my family members have been able to.
Blessings on that. Making a way, you know, making a way. And Covl here, as we wrap up these last couple of questions right now, what is it that you're still seeking at the moment? Is there a project? Is there a brand? Is there a collaboration? Is there more internal work? Like, what is it that you're currently seeking right now?
More freedom. Like not to like boast or anything, but like what's coming this year is enough for me. You know, if the universe is listening, I don't mind if you give me more. But I think in all of that, I'm just looking for more freedom. Like I want to be able to be like, this is what I want to do this season. My team is on board and we just like hit the ground running. I want to travel more. I want to experience life. You know, I think at the very beginning, we were so honed in on like brand collaborations and financial stability and expanding my name as an artist. Now I feel like I'm at a point where I can like use more discernment and like how I approach my work now.
You know, and I always like to lean in on advice, right? For a lot of the creatives, artists who may be just starting their career or look to you as an inspiration, what's a message that you want them to take away from your story?
Just do it. You know, people are always asking me for like, what's the recipe for success? Just do it. Or how do I get better? Practice. You know, like that's really what it is. You know, like I spend a lot of time practicing. I spend a lot of time nourishing these ideas and things that I want to do. And I feel like that shows in my work. And so, yeah, when people are like, you know, how can I do it? I'm like, you just have to put in the time. If you want to cut corners, sure. Especially in the world that we live in now, where like being viral is such a thing. I'm like, what about longevity? Work on that. Practice, read, go to a museum, ask your friends, you want to do a craft night or something. I just think constantly being someone that participates in their craft is how you succeed. That's how I feel.
Beautiful, beautiful said. You know, I want to take this time, and we do this every time because it's super important. This is why we honestly established this show, because a lot of it got introduced and inspired by my grandmother. And, you know, unfortunately she's no longer here, but her spirit still lives through me. And I've always had this idea of just saying, like, you know, if my grandma was here right now, I always had this idea of saying, like, if my grandmother knew English, how further along would she have gone? And to your point about just living the life of our parents, you know, unfortunately didn't have the chance of like going to these different cities, being into these different spaces. I always look to say, I'm keeping my grandma's legacy, and it's my story to tell now.
Yeah.
And I say that to say a lot of what she instilled in me was always showing gratitude and appreciation for others and giving people their flowers, right? Giving people their flowers while they're still here. So I want to give you your flowers for the amazing work that you continue to do, for the countless of hours that you continue to pour into yourself, but ultimately for the community that you're building for people to keep dreaming. I think a lot of times we don't dream big enough, high enough, right? To say, I don't know what that even looks like, right? And you gotta ask yourself, when's the last time you dreamed? You know, and what are you currently dreaming about? Because you're a living testimony that anything is possible. So I just wanted to share that with you.
You're just gonna make me emotional today. You made me cry.
It's all energy, it's vibes, you know what I'm saying? It's a conversation I'm glad we had.
Yeah.
You know, and before you leave, we always ask the guests, who would you give your flowers to?
Oh, I mean, I would give it to like my people. You know, I can't just like pick one because I feel like each of them have invested and instilled a lot of things into me, have inspired me. So like, honestly, I would give all my flowers to like my people, like Kat, Nat, Amaya, Ashley, my team, my partner, like everybody. I feel like everybody that has participated in my life and has lifted me and kept me grounded, those are the people that I want to give my flowers to.
Amazing. Well said, well said. Listen, we appreciate you. We thank you. We wish you so much abundance and amounts of success, and allow this episode, this conversation to reach millions of people around the world. And we're gonna look back and say, you know what? You were just getting started.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah.
I feel like, and also like, when I think about everyone, what they're doing right now, I'm like, we're writing history. Like, cause we're in the moment, we don't see that. And like yesterday was yesterday and tomorrow we haven't gotten there yet, but we're writing history right now. And 10 years from now, someone's gonna look back on what we did. And I always think about that. I'm like, yo, I get in my head about like not doing enough, but I'm like, no, D'ana, like you're making history right now just by existing and doing what you said you're gonna do. So we're all doing it.
Yeah, we're here. Listen, we're at BBC right now.
No,
Come on, like
congrats,
this is fire.
Congrats to you. This is
you.
massive.
This is amazing, you know, and it's a dream come true, full circle moment. And shout out to the entire team just to put this together.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, I'm honored, and just again, thank you for being here.
No, thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, there we have it. That was Off the Cuff. Help me here.
Yeah.
D'ana. Nuñez.
I'm gonna do it for him. D'ana Nuñez.
D'ana Nuñez.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. You gotta come back. And there we have it. That was Off the Cuff with D'ana Nuñez.